Hello and welcome to CultureCast. In this episode, we'll be discussing The Hunt, directed by Thomas Vinterberg. He's an award-winning Danish film director who's won multiple awards, including first prize at Tel Aviv Film Festival. He's done a lot of work with fiction-type stories, which kind of brings us into The Hunt, which is basically a suspenseful drama that deals with a lot of different cultural themes, one of which is the mob mentality. Basically, he is a single father who's fighting for custody of his son, and he gets wrongfully accused of touching a little girl named Clara inappropriately at a kindergarten that he works for. And we see throughout the story how it starts off where there's a very tight-knit community. Lucas has a lot of good friends. They're all very close, like drinking buddies and things like that.
A wholesome man, divorced, lonely, community-orientated, family-orientated, being as though he's trying to get his son's full custody of his son. Basically, he's a guy turned alleged pedophile.
After this happens, because Clara, the girl he's accused of touching, is his best friend Theo's son, the community really turns on him and they take Clara's side. It's like a snowball effect. So when one person starts to believe her, the whole community pretty much shuns him, and they see him as a sick person, a pedophile, and he's not allowed to shop in grocery stores and things like that. So he goes through a lot of struggle in trying to prove to people that were once his very good friends that he is actually innocent.
So let's delve into this movie. There's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of themes that we can talk about, but we wanted to focus on the idea of how this film really represents a community, and the fact that it is a tight-knit and small community, how that really plays into the idea of a mob mentality that is attacking an idea and a piece of news that ends up being false. But the idea that something being planted into a community doesn't really go away. And it's not only the adults, that follow this idea.
Other children of the daycare wanted to be involved within a lie.
The whole basis of this film deals with the term of false memories, which pretty much incites the whole movie. A false memory is pretty much a memory which is false, and it's usually reinforced when someone else says it happened. So for example, you said, I went out last night, and then someone else said you went out last night. It keeps going on saying as if you actually did go out. So in this film, Clara accuses Lucas of rape. She just says it out of nowhere. And then in the upcoming days, her parents say that this did happen. As she's being interrogated, she said people say it did happen. So over and over, she starts to believe it actually did happen, even though she knows deep down it didn't happen. And then that spreads throughout the whole community that Lucas did in fact touch this girl when he really didn't.
It's also the kids in Clara's class come up with a story that Lucas also touched them, which snowballs into more allegations against him. However, later in the movie we find out that these kids just made up this story to be a part of what was happening. So again, the mom mentality type of thing. These kids just want to be a part of what's going on in their parents' lives and the town's lives, so they make up this story against Lucas just to, again, be a part of the group.
I think this leads into the setting of the movie. The movie is set in a really small Danish town, and the fact it's a village essentially, and everybody's really involved in everybody's life, and it's the word of this small innocent girl versus this man who's divorced and lonely. I mean, he's a popular kindergarten teacher, but his characterizations are not what is the norm in this town. And then it's with any small town, everybody just wants to be involved and a part of something, so it starts off as an anthill, but it builds into a molehill.
We definitely see how, you mentioned the characterization, how the relationship between Lucas and his son Marcus is developed throughout the story. How in the beginning we're not really sure, he's talking to his son on the phone, and we know that he has arguments with his ex-wife about custody of his son, visitation, things like that. But we really see as the film develops and as Lucas gets more and more shunned by the community, how close, his son, and one of his friends is pretty much all he has left that still believes him, and his son gets really, really angry and really frustrated at the whole situation. He really sticks up for his father a lot. There's a scene where he actually, spits on Clara, loses his mind and spits on her because he, feels like she's just, making this up, which she is, and he just feels like his father is really wrong about the whole situation. So we really see how close their relationship is, and it's really tested, but we really see how much they, really love each other and need each other.
Yeah, I think it's also really important to note that this whole thing started because Lucas and Clara are also very close.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Clara is Lucas's best friend's daughter. Sorry if that's a little confusing. But they are really close. Like, Lucas walks Clara to school every day. He walks her home. He lets her walk his dog. They're very close, and he seems like a very loving figure for Clara, and like a very friendly person. And this whole thing spirals out of control because Clara decides to give Lucas a heart that she made, and she at one point kisses Lucas on the mouth when they're like playing. And Lucas comes to talk to Clara and says, that's not appropriate for us, like that's what mommy and daddies do, not us. And then Clara spins it out of control and says that Lucas touched her and made her touch him in inappropriate ways, and the whole town, rightfully so, believes this little girl, because a big thing is that kids don't lie in this movie, even though this whole thing started from a kid's lie.
Going back to Clara, I'm pretty sure this whole incident stems from her wanting more attention because her family is kind of broken a little bit. They argue and stuff. They usually leave her alone. So Clara wanted attention from Lucas, and she got it a little bit. And then she increased the attention she wanted by giving him hearts, and Lucas didn't really reciprocate that attention back. That's why she lied. I think she lied because she wanted more attention, because I think she knew that lie would bring out more attention from everybody.
Yeah, and even how much of a change this one lie brings upon this whole community, because Lucas and Teo being Clara's father, are best friends, and we see them as like really great friends. There's a scene where they're like playing poker and drinking and having a great time, and Teo's saying like, I love you, Lucas, you're my best friend, I believe everything you say, I can always tell when you're lying or telling the truth, I know you so well. And then as soon as this lie that Clara brings up, there's an immediate switch to like an attack on Lucas.
He wanted to kill Lucas and basically promised to kill Lucas if he found out he touched his daughter. Theo basically beats up Lucas when he comes over to try to clear things up about the situation with his daughter and how it didn't happen, but Theo basically doesn't want to hear it.
The whole community, the whole village also has this immediate attack on Lucas. They ban him from going to the supermarket. They don't invite him anywhere. They shun him completely, and it's a huge switch from being really good friends to being complete enemies.
When there was a night where, like as Emma mentioned, that they were talking and he said, I can always tell when you're lying because he has like a facial tic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that Cliff will elaborate on more, but essentially at church, when Theo confronts him, or they like talk about it, well, they don't really talk about it, but he like says that I didn't do it, and his face doesn't do the tic.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. There's that scene where he's in the kitchen or whatever, and they're just joking about something silly, and Theo says to Lucas, like, I can always tell when you're lying, like Anushka said, because you do that little like weird twitch with your face, and that whole, you talked about it a lot, Emma, the whole like one lie comes about, and he kind of like forgets about that whole thing. You don't really see it for like a good portion of the movie, and then at the end, in church, Lucas is just so like, he's so fed up with everything. He's just he's staring at back at Theo with this intense look, and he's just like, Theo says to his wife, I can see it in his eyes, and he can just tell that he's telling the truth. And which is really, the movie kind of, plays with that a lot, how, like, facial expressions and stuff like that. And also, we see throughout the movie, but it's especially prevalent in that church scene where Lucas is turned around and he's looking at Theo, and this is after, like, close to the end where he's already been, attacked by the community, shunned by the community and things like that, and he's just trying to, get into church, for a service, and
it's Christmas, right?
Yeah, it's Christmas. Yep, exactly. And he's looking back, and we notice with the lighting, Lucas is really lit up when the camera focuses on him. His face is lit up. You can see him very clearly and profoundly. And then when you look back, when the camera shifts back to Theo and his family, there you can make out their faces, but it's a lot, it's like in the dark, so that kind of gets the viewer feeling like, Lucas, the light shining on him, like he's in the right, and then Theo, his family in the back, like they're in the wrong, because they are in darkness and they're not being, shown the light and focused on.
Yeah, the overarching theme of lighting in the film is seasons. So when the film begins, it's autumn. The colors are bright, trees are bright, everything is just bright and colored. As the film progresses, the colors die down and become dull, because the film is about, a dark theme. It's about life, destruction, and family and all that stuff. So as the film progresses, it goes from a light tone of color to dark, and the season changes from autumn to Christmas. So it changes from autumn to winter, where everything's cold, frigid, and everybody's usually not really wanted to do anything. And then when the movie ends again, it's back to the theme, back to the lighting comes back to colorful and vibrant.
I think it's an interesting juxtaposition in the movie that at the height of the attack, I guess, on Lucas, it happens during Christmas time, which is supposed to be a happy, light-filled season. Holiday is the right word for that. It's just an interesting juxtaposition that at the worst part for Lucas is happening during the best part for the townspeople.
Yeah, what's supposed to be like you said, like the happiest time of the year.
Yeah, as we were talking about with at the end of the movie coming back to autumn, what happens at the end of this movie is that Lucas goes to court and they clear him of having committed this crime, this horrible thing, and his name is cleared. As we see at the end of the movie, everyone seems to have forgotten about it. Everyone seems to move on and have accepted Lucas back into their community. However, the last scene of the movie, all the men in the town are out hunting, and we see someone try to shoot Lucas, but they miss, which indicates that not everyone is over it. There's still some tension. There was a lot of tension. Although it may be hidden, there's still a lot of tension in the community with Lucas, which kind of brings up the point about the movie's title.
Yeah, the film's name is The Hunt. And I feel the end, when Lucas gets shot at while he's going hunting, it shows that the hunt for Lucas never really ends, because he already has this stamp that he already has a stamp on him that he's a predator. So he's gonna be hunted for the rest of his life, essentially, because of that one lie. Even though people in the back of their minds already know that he's been cleared, it doesn't really matter, because some people are still gonna hunt him anyway. And that's how the film ends. It ends by circling back to the title.
Like, the way I interpreted it was like when he was going through the trial, like when the stigma was going on, like his whole world was affected. Like, he wasn't allowed to go to grocery stores, his kid wasn't allowed to go to the grocery store, and if I'm not mistaken, like the community is like a community of hunters, and that was his son's first year as a hunter. He was like allowed to hunt, so like to me that represented like the community was kind of like letting them back into the folds of it. But like as we mentioned, he got shot at, and it just shows that like you guys said before, that like even though he's cleared of it, the stigma never goes away, because like once that seed has been planted, it's kind of hard for it's hard to forget.
Especially with like people telling this like a story about him over and over again. it sticks with people and becomes sort of like a part of this town's history.
Back to that, what you said about telling the story over and over again. As we see, like in history and stuff, when you tell a story, it changes throughout the time. Just like there's a game where you play, where you say something, you whisper something to someone's ear, and as it goes around the whole table, it changes. Just like that game, and it's just like the movie. As the years go on, and the stories begin to tell about Lucas, he's gonna change. He's gonna seem like he actually did do it, even though he didn't. So.
Yeah, I think another really good point about the filming of this movie and how the viewer's sympathies are drawn towards Lucas is that this film is shot in the perspective of Lucas. It's from Lucas's point of view. We see the town attacking him, not Lucas attacking the town, sort of. Like not, we see the town responding to what they thought happened, not Lucas's response to that. So I think because of the way that this film has been shot, the viewers have a lot more sympathy towards Lucas and we feel for him rather than the parents of Clara who like are getting most of the sympathy from the town. The viewers have the sympathy towards Lucas.
I agree. Like, and if you think about it, like watching the movie, there's never really any scenes where you have just the townspeople talking amongst themselves. You know, like you're right. Like you get that whole like feel that they're kind of like on the outside, you know, and they're like these people that are, you know, like what are these people thinking? You know, like this is wrong. And you feel it the entire way. Like, you know, when Lucas goes into the school after he's like figured out that he's been accused of this, you know, he's trying to talk to people and like no one will talk to him, no one will tell him what's going on, you know, he's just like, what did I do, you know, and you get that like throughout the movie. You don't really see them, like I said, like you said, it's not from their perspective, you know, you really see what Lucas goes through, you know, and what his son goes through, even when he gets, you know, his son is at Clara's house and, you know, he loses his mind, you know, it's not like Clara and her family, like, you know, really like talking it over all that much, you know, it's just like, you know, his son like trying to get to the bottom of like, hey, you know, why are you lying about my dad, you know, so yeah, you're right, it's you know, really makes a big difference, like seeing it through his eyes, and you just, you know, you feel for him throughout the movie.
So those are only a few points that this movie brings up. Those were some of the most important things that this movie talks about. Thank you for listening. This was Culture Chat talking about The Hunt. See you next time.